2, 1. We're now recording. All right, welcome everybody. I'm Eric Rohr. I'm the owner of Assisting Hands in Richmond, Virginia. We're really happy that you're joining us. This is a series of dementia workshops that Cathy Hamlin, who's the executive administrator of Assisting Hands in Richmond, has put together. And so we're really excited to bring it to you all. Assisting Hands is a home care business, so we actually go to people's home and help provide care and support for them in their home. We specialize in people that have dementia, and I'm really excited because we're co-hosting this with Brooke Brockdorf with Brookdale Senior Living in Midlothian, Virginia, which is just a little bit, a short drive, 5 minutes, 10 minutes away from my office here. And Brookdale has both assisted living and memory care, and so they're dedicated to caring for people with dementia as well. So Brooke, I'm going to turn it over to you, and then maybe you can talk about our series and then introduce Cathy.
Yeah, absolutely. I thank you guys, everybody, for joining this morning, and those of you that are repeat joiners from previous months, we really appreciate it. And talking with Eric and Cathy months ago, almost probably a year ago now, we had the idea of, and we had talked about, we both are in our professions to help and serve our senior community, but becoming kind of joining forces and becoming a really great resource, not just for the professionals in the senior industry, but also the families and their loved ones that we help and that we assist. So being that we're in the times that we're in, this is done virtually. We would love to keep doing this, and eventually, hopefully, we're able to do it in person. Brookdale, my community, as Eric said, is a assisted living and memory care community. So we definitely, everything that we've reviewed so far, and Cathy has coached us on and taught us new things. They're really lessons that are taken that day and implemented right into our community with our residents here. It's great information to share with prospective families as well as families that are already here. A lot of families are unfamiliar with Alzheimer's. They're unfamiliar with dementia, and they're learning as they go. And so any type of help that we can provide them and information we can provide them to help make that process easier for themselves as well as their loved one, it's why we do what we do. So I'm just honored to be part of this awesome team and glad that you all joined us this morning. So without further ado, Cathy, the queen of the workshops, she is absolutely amazing. She's hosted all of these with us, and I'm gonna just turn it over to Cathy and let her talk a little bit more about herself, and we'll get started.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Brooke. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. I am Cathy Hamlin, and I am a certified dementia coach, and excited to share my knowledge with all of you. So why don't we get started this morning? Our workshop goals will be understanding dementia. We're going to identify and discuss some strategies in the following area for people living with dementia and their families. There's a lot of emotional and physical health things that we need to be cognizant of, social and community engagements, physical environment, financial and legal. And then lastly, we will talk about some resources that may be of value to you. Eric, do we have a poll question at this time? Are we gonna? Eric. Okay, so what we'd like to know is, if you could answer, please, what experience do you have with individuals living with dementia? And you can select all that apply.
Okay, we'll just give it another couple seconds. We're getting some good responses in. All right, so I'm gonna share the results. So it looks like there's quite a bit of experience, both on a personal level, and then we have some professionals that provide support for people living with dementia. And then we have a few that just want to learn more, which is great. And I'll just share real quickly, 2 years ago, when I got in this business, I did not know a lot personally about dementia. But since starting this business, my sister has been diagnosed with dementia, and she actually is in assisted living now. She's in a Brookdale facility community here in Richmond. And I just really wish I had known a lot of this prior to that. And so I love it when there are people that are just wanting to learn more and become aware of more. I think it would have helped me with my relationship with my sister leading up to that diagnosis. And since then, understanding she has dementia, learning as much as I did, my relationship with my sister is awesome now. She's being cared for, and my interactions with her are much better since I have a better perspective on that. So good, I'm glad. And this is part of why we're doing what we're doing, is we want to just build awareness and education around this. All right, thanks, Kathy.
Okay. Well, why don't we go ahead and review what we've learned so far in our series. Dementia is the umbrella term for a person's decline in memory and other cognitive abilities that is severe enough to interfere with their daily life. It's not normal aging. It's estimated now that approximately 50 million individuals, with 5 million in the US, are living with dementia. This number will almost double every 20 years, reaching approximately 75 million in 2030 and almost 131 million in 2050. The 4 things that you need to remember about dementia is at least 2 parts of the brain are dying. It keeps changing and getting worse. It's very progressive. It's not curable or fixable. It will result in death. There are 4 main types of dementia that we see out there more commonly. Would be Alzheimer's would be the first one, dementia with Lewy bodies, vascular dementia, and frontotemporal dementia. There are a lot of causes and risk factors in determining who is going to be struck with this disease. Advancing age is probably the biggest risk factor, but dementia can also affect people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. If you have a family history, it puts you at a greater risk of developing the dementia by almost 30%. Genetics also have a big factor. The risk of developing dementia is related to a combination of genetics, lifestyle, and environment. And then there's some others that we need to be aware of: alcoholism, drug addiction, diabetes, and some other underlying medical conditions can exacerbate dementia. You see our common symptoms of dementia. We've listed the 10 most prevalent here: memory loss that disrupts your daily life, changes in planning or solving your problems, difficulty with completing tasks, confusion with time or place, trouble understanding visual and spatial images and relationships, problems with words in speaking or writing, misplacing things and losing the ability to retrace your steps to find them. There's decreased or poor judgment. Usually there's withdrawal from work or social activities, and definitely changes in mood and personality. But please keep in mind, no one symptom indicates that you have dementia. You may have a couple of these symptoms together, but again, that does not mean that you have dementia. So you've got a loved one or yourself that's been diagnosed with dementia. What's next? You can see that there are a lot of things that run through people's heads. Can I still live in my own house? Who do I tell about this? When do I tell? Will I understand what's happening to me as it goes on? How are strangers going to treat me? How will it feel to forget who people are and what their relationship to me was? Affordability is a big factor for people. So it's just, there are a lot of different things that come into play when you've been diagnosed with dementia. So one of the things that I will encourage you to do is to take a moment, organize your thoughts, and develop your plan on how you are going to handle and work through your diagnosis. So with emotional and physical health, we need to take into consideration medications, emotions. Do you need a second opinion? Then you want to look at your social and your community situations. Who should we tell and when should we tell them? How are my friends and my family going to act? Will I understand? How are strangers going to treat me now? Communication. How do I tell people? And how, again, will it feel to forget the people that I once knew and loved? We need to take a look at our physical environment, whether or not it's safe to live in our own home, traveling, moving, driving, and additional care with personal care can come into play. There's also financial and legal things that need to be considered. Powers of attorney, wills, DNRs, and really, can you afford this? Someone recently diagnosed with dementia is likely to experience a range of emotions that could include grief, loss, anger, shock, fear, disbelief, and sometimes even relief. It's very common to occasionally experience emotional distress. When you're angry, you have a response to feeling, you could be frightened, frustrated, embarrassed, or humiliated. Depression is a big thing with an early diagnosis of dementia. You'll see changes in moods, you'll see anxiety, possibly agitation and delusions and hallucinations. Anxiety with difficulty processing information experiences, processing new places and faces and places, and memories of your favorite places and faces will fade away. Mood swings are a big thing. Could be scared, confused, very tired. Mood swings can also happen because you are in pain, you're too hot or cold, you're hungry or bored. Some people will actually experience positive reactions when they receive a diagnosis of dementia. They may be relieved to know what is wrong or be glad to be able to plan ahead. So it's really important that you accept your feelings and work through the bad ones to get to the good ones. Pay attention to your feelings, talk them out with people. Still can do things that you enjoy and connect with others. Don't be afraid to express your emotions with people you trust. They will understand. Humor, music, massage, writing, gardening, exercise. These are all things that can certainly help you deal with the emotional distress of this diagnosis. And joining a support group or talking with other people who have memory loss. But one thing that you need to do is focus on your strengths and ask for help when you need it. There's no shame in asking for help. Living with dementia will affect a person's thoughts, feelings, and their responses to these thoughts and feelings. So it's very important to recognize and respect these emotional needs. So when you're talking about emotional and physical health considerations, there are a lot of strategies for successful coping with these feelings. You want to put fewer demands on your recent memory and try memory aid suggestions and or checklist. One of the things that I have recently found that are good is using Alexa for reminders. Large calendars that are easily seen across the room are good. Bulletin boards where you can post activities, appointments, things like that, where they're easily accessible and can be remembered quickly. You might want to keep a notebook, write down all the important information, or just journal your thoughts or ideas that you'd like to hold on to as you travel through this journey. Do activities you enjoy at the time of day you feel best. That could be early morning, afternoons, evenings, sometimes even at night. But the important thing is to maintain a consistent routine and remind yourself daily what you have to do. And again, relying on your memory aids if you need that. Slow down, do fewer things and allow more time, taking a break if things get difficult. For some tasks, you may need to break it down in steps and follow those steps one at a time. Mark off the days on the calendar to keep track. That is something that will certainly help someone with dementia. Remember what day it is and what they need to do that day. Find opportunities for exercise and soothing rituals. Exercise can help with a lot of the emotions that you're feeling. Soothing rituals can do the same. You want to educate yourself about your disease and stay actively involved in your own health care as long as you are able to do that. Try to enjoy the moment and try not to spend too much time thinking about what the future may or may not hold. And here's some tips for the caregivers for people living with dementia. Try to understand what the person living with dementia feels. Do not dismiss their worries. Listen and show them that you are there for them. Avoid harsh criticism or belittling comments, keeping in mind that this is the disease. It's not the person that you love. Offer plenty of praise, celebrate your successes, and always focus on the positives.
Hey, Cathy, before you move on, I just want to kind of interject there, and I'll use my own personal experience with that. I used to get very frustrated before I understood about my sister. I used to get very frustrated with her. Like every time I'd go see her, she would ask me what grade my three daughters, her three nieces, were in. My oldest was looking at colleges, what colleges my daughter was looking at. And it was like every time. And I'd get so frustrated because I interpreted that as she didn't care, she wasn't paying attention, she had nothing else to talk to me about, and she was just filling up time. And once I understood, and this is Cathy helped me with this quite a bit, is understood what she was going through, is I now take that when she asks me repeat questions as really as a sign that she truly does care. These are things that she knows she wants to know and care about, and is the reason she's engaging and asking me again, because she can't quite grasp it in her head and she wants to know that. And so I think, as Cathy said, is going from their perspective. It's, there's a phrase that Teepa Snow and the positive approach to care uses. It's about getting into their world, is having that perspective. I mean, it makes so much of a difference, again, in my interaction with my sister. So I think that's really an important point. And, the other point I will make, and on this slide that is in front of us right now, is these are things the caregiver should be doing. The caregiver needs to take care of themselves as much as them taking care of the person living with dementia, because they're the ones that are going to help support that person. And if they're not in the best mental and physical health, they're not going to be able to do that very important and critical job.
So now let's talk about some social and community considerations. And one of the biggest ones are changes in communication. People living with dementia often will experience changes in communication. They have trouble finding the right words. They lose their train of thought. They repeat words, stories, or questions. They are sometimes getting their words confused, definitely out of order. And a lot of times they'll have problems understanding what someone is saying to them. So they may use body language and behaviors to communicate things and use gestures, eye contact, facial expressions. All of these are things that we need to be cognizant of and try to understand. When you're finding new ways to communicate with someone living with dementia, slow down and take your time. Understand that it takes approximately 30 seconds for someone living with dementia to formulate their thoughts and responses to your questions and comments. Try to find a quiet place to have conversations. Limit or avoid distractions if at all possible. It's okay to tell people that you're having difficulty concentrating, remembering, and understanding. If you can admit that in the beginning, then it will certainly help your caregiver, your family, your loved ones to know what you're going through, and they'll be more apt to try to understand and help. If it's really a big thing, just come back to it later. It's no big deal. If you can't name something, try to describe it. Or carry a small notebook, write things down, doodle, whatever you need to do. There are a lot of things, though, that caregivers can help with communication by using simple words and sentences, and be aware of the tone you adopt. Maintain eye contact, because this helps the person focus on you. Listen to the person, give them plenty of time with removing distractions, background noises, and try to work out the meanings that they're trying to convey to you. And understand the message may be about feelings. It's not always about facts. Avoid asking too many direct questions, and try to ask questions with yes or no answers, or give them options. Do you want this one or do you want that one? Then, with also social and community considerations, is who do you tell and when you tell. Discovering that you have dementia can be difficult news for anyone to take in, and the prospect of breaking the news to family and friends may seem like a very daunting task. However, the sooner you tell those closest to you what's going on, the sooner you can start to get the support that you need to continue living well. Many people with dementia will wrestle with who to tell and when. Everyday people still feel and suffer from ignorance and prejudice that makes talking about their condition very difficult. So who do you tell? Telling your immediate family is often the first, easiest, and most necessary step. Close relatives probably already know that something is wrong with you. So make sure that you are telling people that you know very well and you trust. Tell people that you love, your spouse, your children, and other close relatives. People to whom you're responsible, your boss, children, spouse. A lot of times people will hesitate to tell their employers about their disease because they're afraid of being terminated. They're afraid of being considered that they can't do their job when they can. There's just a lot of stigma still in the workplace with people with dementia. People from whom you need assistance. They could be neighbors or friends if family is not around. And also you need to let people who need to know for safety reasons. You might need to alert your closest EMT, the sheriff's department, things of those natures. And then again, anybody that you really want to tell. And do it when the time feels right to you. There is no right time. There is no wrong time. It's what you want to do. And also when you know that they need to know. When someone you need help or assistance from, it's a good time to tell them. When it helps to explain what's going on with you, a good thing that you can do is start out by asking if they'll just do you a favor and just listen, not try to help you, but just listen. And then that helps you when you can plan to make decisions about what's happening in your future. And sometimes you might just want to be alone with the person that you want to tell, not have a big family to do, but maybe tell them one person at a time. The decision to reveal your diagnosis to a wider circle other than close family and friends often comes sometime after the diagnosis. It could be months or years after memory or other cognitive problems become apparent. And chances are, like their relatives, they've already noticed that you are having some brain changes. However, telling people will make this journey for you and the person living with dementia much easier to take. All families have conflicts in their day-to-day lives. Usually these conflicts can be solved for better or worse, depending on the problem and the solving abilities of each family member. But when one member of the family suffers from dementia, arguments and tension may increase. So we need to look at family conflict concerns and how we deal with those conflicting views. A lot of times it's lack of understanding about the disease. Learn as much as you can, as quickly as you can. There's often a lot of denial. This is not happening to me. I'm just tired. I just don't feel good. Or you could use any other excuse, but really it's denial. There are a lot of emotional responses to role and relationship changes, which create uncertainty in your family. There is also a lack of awareness of how much help is needed, because it's really hard to tell how the disease will progress and how much help will be needed. You haven't asked anybody to help you. Do not be afraid to ask. Dementia is a frightening and often uncertain journey, and it's certainly one that you do not want to take alone. Or it could be a combination of all of the above. Communication problems are the main things preventing members of the family from finding alternatives that will satisfy everyone. So how do you deal with this? Have a family meeting. It could be in stages if that's easier for you to share. Find a quiet place, go to dinner, have a nice outing in the park. Just sit down quietly and have that meeting. Don't be afraid to discuss your concerns openly. Being able to express your emotions and your opinions in relationship to the disease will certainly help resolve quarrels amongst family and friends. Also, seek help from trusted friends, attorneys, or clergy. Dementia involves numerous stressors that did not exist prior to your diagnosis. Sometimes it's good to have someone other than family and friends to talk to and or to get advice from. And work with your physician, making sure that everyone is fully prepared for your health needs. Finally, you have to learn to make decisions in a very focused manner. All of this will help the family adapt to dementia much better and minimize the suffering that this terrible disease causes you and your families. There also comes time when you're making decisions, and it's better to make these decisions as a family. So you want to identify which family members can assist you with what task. Advise them of what you need instead of assuming that they know. Chances are they don't, and they're waiting for you to tell them. Stay in touch. Don't keep this inside. Let everyone know what is going on with you on any particular day. Hold family meetings. Again, it could be in the home, it could be in stages, it could be with individuals at a time instead of having everybody together. Always recognize the differences of what is happening. No one dementia is the same. Nobody handles this disease the same. And you have to share responsibilities. Don't put helping you on one individual. Everybody is there to help you, and everybody has different things that they can do to share in these responsibilities. And it's really good to always continue to communicate your feelings. And if there's tension, let people know. So now you've made some decisions. What do? Please allow yourself to accept help from others. There is no shame in that. Focus on what you can do and not what you've lost. Learn as much as you can about the particular type of dementia that you have. All of these dementias have different symptoms. They have different time frames on progression. So take time to learn what you can about your specific dementia. Work with those you trust to identify where you need assistance. Keeping in mind in the beginning, you might not need anything except somebody to talk to. But as your disease progresses, there's going to be a lot of things that you need to think about with who and when and how can they help. Share feelings about how it feels to accept help. I know a lot of us are very independent. We don't feel like we need help. We're we're Superman, we're Superwoman. That's not the case. Let people know. Attend support groups, talk to others with similar concerns. There are a lot of professional support groups out there. There are a lot of dementia cafes, especially around the Tri-Cities and the Richmond metro area. Consider individual or family counseling. And always remember to thank those who support and help you. So some things that you just need to remember: changes are part of the disease, and don't take things personally. You're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. Everyone experiences this disease differently. Try different ideas for coping. Sometimes you may have to walk away and regroup, ask for help, go out and do some exercise. And then another thing is, tell someone, don't ask if there is confusion there. And especially like for dinner time, instead of saying, are you ready to eat? Or what would you like to eat? To say, okay, it's time to have dinner and this is what we're having. People who understand what you're going through will certainly help you and your family. And again, use dementia cafes, support groups, just talking with friends and your family. All of this will help. Now, with your dementia, there's also physical and environmental considerations that we need to consider. Playing it safe with medications is a big thing. It can be difficult to remember to take important things like medication. So you might need medication aid reminders. Using a pill organizer will certainly help. A care partner can fill it once a week and provide you with reminders to take them. Use one pharmacy. Let them coordinate your prescriptions and verify medication compatibility, easy refills. And there are a lot of pharmacies out there that will pre-package your medications. If you have several that need to be taken in the morning, they'll put them in a little morning pack. Afternoon, evening, they'll do the same thing. And it's really easy to keep up with those that way. And also you'll know if you've missed a dose. Keep an up-to-date list of all of your medications in an easy to find place. Be sure it has the name on it and you know everything that your loved one is taking. This can include prescriptions, vitamins, herbal supplements. It should also have the dose on each one and how to take it and when to take it. Always use the right amount and try to take them on time. Taking more medicine because you think it'll help you feel better is not a good idea, and it's certainly not going to help. And predictable routines can help with medications and other things and playing it safe. When you're looking at your living arrangements, in the early stages of dementia, many people can live alone by creating a dementia-friendly home environment. There are many, many products and gadgets necessary for home safety in hardware stores, department stores, the Walmart. Paying attention to home safety can help you maintain your independence. Have open layouts, plan layouts with your home to help with navigation. Incorporate handrails, well-lit sitting areas, walk-in showers. Also, make sure your kitchen is safe. Keep your stairs clear of clutter, and make sure the carpet is in good shape so that there are no trips, slips, or falls. Alarms, sensors, and detectors for falls, nighttime and bathroom activity, and exits are also good to monitor. You might want to consider putting alarms on your doors and your windows that will alert you when they're open. A GPS to provide additional security when they're out of the home is a good thing. They can offer fall detection. They can offer position if your loved one is wandering and has gotten lost. And I don't know about other areas, but I do know that in Chesterfield County and in Henrico County, you can go to the sheriff's department and they can Attach an identification bracelet to your loved one that has their picture. Sometimes it has their medication, their address, who to contact in case of an emergency. And it also has a GPS, which can help the authorities locate someone. But there will also come a time when you'll have to realize that living alone at home is no longer a good option. Then there's the tricky little thing of to drive or not to drive. Driving should always be a part of any type of safety discussion you have with your loved ones. Even in the early stages of dementia, your driving can be affected. Visual and spatial relationships can be a factor with poor driving. You don't see well, you're not aware of how close you are to things or how far you are away from things. Don't be afraid to discuss it openly with family and trusted friends. And then make a good plan for transportation options so that you can remain active and independent when your driving is no longer safe. You might want to consider setting up an Uber account, taking taxis, public transportation like buses, trains, things of that nature. Some of the things that you need to consider when you're reevaluating whether or not somebody should be driving is whether or not they're signaling correctly. Are they confusing brake and gas pedals? Are they driving at inappropriate speeds? A lot of times they will drive too slowly, which most of you will know will cause an accident a lot quicker than someone driving too fast. Frequently hitting the curbs. That's a good thing because they don't understand the spatial relationships. They could be getting lost in places that they've gone 1,000 times. They might remember how to get there, but they might not remember how to get home. Driving on the wrong side of the road or straddling that middle line is also a good indicator that it's time to stop driving. And failing to stop at red lights and stop signs. And that could be because they don't recognize that there are indications, the directions they need to follow. And if you are having trouble convincing the person living with dementia to stop driving, the DMV can help you. Let them be the bad guys, because they can tell somebody that, no, we're not going to renew your license. We're taking your license away. It's not safe for you or others on the road.
And Cathy, real quick, on this topic about driving, we actually covered this in more depth in a previous workshop. So again, encourage people to go back and view that. But I thought a really good strategy was doing the drive along, where you're the person without dementia is the driver, and you have the person who is living with dementia as your co-pilot, and they literally tell you step by step what to do. And you pick a destination, they have to tell you the turn-by-turn directions, when to slow down, when to stop, when to put on signals, and all those things. And I think that's a really good strategy, because I think if they forget, obviously there's a stopgap to stop. If they tell you not to stop when you should, they may come to the realization, wow, I missed 5 or 6 very basic things in that drive, that they may be able to self kind of conclude that they need some additional help. So again, we went into that in more depth in another workshop, but I thought I'd mention that.
Okay. There are many benefits and difficulties to consider when traveling with someone living with dementia. It's essential that you consider the environment that you'll be spending your time in. And you want to keep your travel simple and manageable. Consider short trips and avoid multiple stops. Be aware of that changes in the environment can trigger moments of confusion. Loved ones with dementia do better with routines and familiar settings. Taking the routine out of the equation can certainly lead to unexpected behaviors and speed bumps in your road trip. It's a good idea to visit places that were familiar before the onset of dementia. It's probably easier than visiting new places, and it gives you an opportunity to reminisce and share stories. Evaluate the options for the best mode of travel. Sometimes it might be driving, Sometimes it might be flying. It's just, you need to take consideration into the stage of dementia that the person you're traveling with might be in. Plan trips where medical services are easily accessible, and you might want to ask the doctor how to adjust medicines for schedules that can account for changes in your routine and in your diet. Because when we're traveling or vacation, remember, our routines aren't necessarily what we're used to. If you're flying or staying in a hotel, make sure you inform the staff ahead of time of any specific needs that you might have. And it's a good thing that when you're traveling, travel with a family photo or two, or a keepsake then you can place in their rooms. Pack familiar blankets, PJs, and slippers, and the pillow that they normally sleep with. Another thing that you might want to consider is a travel partner. Another set of eyes and hands in a stressful situation can be a major asset when you are traveling with someone with dementia. They can give you support, someone to confide in, to vent to, or lean on when your family member is feeling overwhelmed as you are. Travel during the time of the day when you feel best. That could be getting up early in the morning, could be leaving right after lunch, or it could be leaving after dinner and driving in the night. Whatever you do, though, allow plenty of time for rest and don't overschedule your trip. Have a backup plan just in case. Create an itinerary, give out copies and keep one with you. Make sure that family and friends have copies of your itinerary. And it's also a good idea to give up, if you're staying in a hotel, to leave a copy with the concierge at the hotel, just in case you need some backup help. Always keep a bag of essentials containing your medications, comfortable clothes, water, snacks, and activities. And remember to pack the necessary paperwork, including medical information and all of your emergency contacts. Again, just in case.
Something on the traveling, obviously with COVID, that adds another layer of complexity on this. And I realize that thinking about travel with someone with dementia, say in non-COVID times, really can be a daunting kind of thought. But the reason we put this in here is what we're encouraging people to do is keep living life. This person is living with dementia, even though it may be a terminal kind of disease at the end. There's no reason to give up on life and do the things that would bring them joy and you joy. And so it may be more difficult. It may require more planning, less spontaneity, but I think it's important to keep trying to do these things that make life worth living. So this is why we put this in here. We get it. It's daunting, overwhelming, but I think it brings a lot of joy. So anyway.
And just to add on to that, from a community standpoint, with our residents in our memory care, obviously pre and post COVID, the times are a little bit different, as we all know right now, but we encourage families, and we kind of go through this process with them right here, that whether it's holiday trips or vacations that they took with their mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, we still want them to go and do that if they feel comfortable and they're healthy enough to do so. So our residents are able to leave with family members and take trips, whether long trips, short trips. We do all of this, the medication, we help them plan a schedule. We do the activity bags for them. So this is just to add on to that, even when it's time to live, where you have that 24/7 care in a community, we still want our residents to live too and enjoy time with their families, and their families to enjoy time with them. So this continues on well into their diagnosis for sure.
And don't forget, sometimes even the short trips, like to a doctor appointment, never know how long some of those might turn into.
Exactly.
Extra depends. A new
Yes.
set of clothes. Making sure, maybe they don't use a wheelchair, but you may wind up needing one. All sorts of things.
Really good points, Judy. Really good points. Thank you.
So some things that we need to do now just to help us through is always keep emergency telephone numbers at each telephone. That could be police, rescue squad, fire department, doctor, all of those types of things. Incorporate kitchen safety strategies. A lot of people don't realize that the kitchen can be a very dangerous place for someone living with dementia. They have a tendency to turn on the stove, but they might not remember to turn it off. We've also recently experienced something with one of our clients in that she knew how to use the microwave, but she was putting foil on top of what she was putting in the microwave. So you need to think about these things too. Locked drawers where chemicals and cleaning things are stored. Again, use a pill box or other tools to organize your medications. Use night lights. These are real important for people who tend to get up during the middle of the night, whether they're wandering the house or they're making a trip to the restroom. But using night lights will help guide them where they're trying to get to go. Ask for help as needed with grocery shopping, meal planning, cooking, and household repairs. And quite frankly, I ask for help with this every day. A lot of us without dementia need this kind of help as well. And don't be afraid to ask family, friends, and your physician, again, for advice about when you need to stop driving. Then we get into financial and legal considerations. And before I start this session, let me just reiterate, I am not an attorney. I am just passing on some information that I think will help, but it's always good to contact a professional in the financial world when it comes down to the nitty-gritty. Medical research confirms that of all the symptoms, one of the first things people have trouble with in the early stages of dementia is managing their finances. This means that somebody can make really expensive mistakes before anybody else knows there's a problem. Disorganization is a big thing. It could be misplacing items. It could be difficulty planning shopping trips, losing track of directions and times. You could also see late bill payments because they forgot to pay them, or because they're so disorganized, a bill is laying on the bottom of a pile somewhere. And as we all know, those service charges can add up as well. Impulsive large purchases and online shopping. A lot of people with dementia will do this because something has triggered that I've got to have that. But then they don't remember that they've done it. So we need to monitor their spending habits, both online and offline. And if their online purchases are just getting way out of hand, you might want to consider taking away their computer or putting the child privileges on the computer so that they can't go to certain websites. It's also very easy for someone living with dementia to fall victim to scams. It could be identity theft, somebody trying to gain access to their financial records. It could be somebody trying to sell them bogus insurance policies, but it sounds so good, they give them their money. But a really big thing is investment schemes. People with dementia don't have the cognizant abilities to say, no, this is not a good idea. So we need to look out for them when things like this happen. You also need to make your wishes known.
Kathy, sorry, I just real quick too, and this is something that we come across quite a bit in meeting and talking with families and trying to decide next steps is sometimes it is, and you and Eric both know this, it is the resident is able to still be in their own home with care in the home. I would just also please make sure that you are trusting the care providers that you put in the home with your loved one. As far as doing research on the company, making sure that they have insurance, that they're reputable businesses, because when you start diving into the financials of all of this, the cost of caregivers and the cost of community care may seem you know, like a large amount, but in all reality, you know, somebody that's coming into your home that you're just finding off of a website that's not licensed, that's not insured, you know, just be very careful of that, because you want to make sure that who you're putting in your home and or the community that your loved one is going to, that they're well taken care of. And that's also from a financial aspect too. So just.
Great point, Brooke. Great point. All right, so now with other considerations in the financial and legal realm, it's time to do some things. You might need to get a financial durable power of attorney. That would be someone that would help you make wise financial decisions. And when you can no longer make them yourselves, they would be the one to step up to the plate and make sure that your wishes are followed through. Also, the same thing with a medical durable power of attorney, somebody who can help you make medical decisions now and then be able to make those decisions when you're no longer able to do that. Living wills are a good idea. It gives you an opportunity to let people know how you want your estate to be dispersed if you're not using a last will and testament. Living wills also can let your physician know whether or not what you want to happen at the end of life. Do not resuscitate orders are really important. If you have a DNR, it needs to be posted very visibly somewhere in the home or in the community where you're living. If you have to call emergency responders, if they do not physically see a DNR, they are going to perform CPR, and that could be definitely against your wishes. Another thing that we recommend is there is a little book out there called The 5 Wishes that people can complete. It's a really good thing. It lets you decide before anything else happens to you what you want done. And it gives your family and your friends kind of a boilerplate of how to help you as you go through this journey. So some other things that you might want to do are getting a list of elder law attorneys. They can help you make legal, medical, financial decisions early. I mean, it's real important to do that while you kind of know still what you want to have done. Appoint a trusted family member or a friend to help you manage your finances. But you also may want to have an attorney help you with that. It's a good idea to take family members or friends to appointments so that you don't forget things, or you don't misunderstand things that were said. If you are meeting with a legal and or financial professional, write your questions down so that you don't forget to ask all of the things that you need to know. And then as you are asking those questions, make sure that you are writing down the answers. When it comes to handling your finances, money is a difficult subject to discuss, especially with family members. If you want to be allowed to help with finances, it's important to communicate that it is your intention to help, not to take over. So it's also a good thing to simplify things. If someone has multiple bank accounts across different banks, move everything to one bank. If you have investment accounts scattered across different companies, you might want to consider consolidating all of those investment accounts with the one company that you feel is more worthy than the others. Additionally, if you are acting as a conservator, a trustee, or with the power of attorney, it's important to understand what it means to act as a fiduciary for that person. That means you must focus solely on what is in the best interest of the person you're helping, and you cannot manage their money in a way which benefits you. It has to benefit them. And a professional advisor, again, can help you do things right. So when you're doing your financial planning, again, you need to understand what your insurance policies are. Do you have long-term care insurance? What does it cover? How is it paid? Are there any benefit caps? Cash balance life insurance policies. Consult with your insurance agent to clarify and understand the benefits for each policy. And it would be a good idea to let a family member in on these conversations so they know what to anticipate and what to do at the time of your demise. Retirement benefits. A lot of us have retirement accounts. We need to know when you can access your retirement plan. Is it at a specific age? Can you get it with an illness or a disability? Are you going to have penalties for early withdrawal? Another thing to consider is your Social Security. Or if you have a disability, are you getting Social Security disability? What do these cover and how much is it and how can it help? Personal savings and assets are also something that you need to work with your families to make sure that your savings and your checking accounts are suitable, that everybody understands where they are, what they are, and how to access them. You need to take a look at your home and your land deeds or mortgage paperwork and make sure that someone knows where all of that paperwork is, just in case they need to access it. Titles to cars, boats, and other vehicles need to be recorded with a friend or a family member. Again, all of these are things that are important to have and know where they are. There's also a lot of government programs that can help when it comes to financial planning. Medicare and Medicare Advantage. Some of the new Medicare Advantage programs will actually help with home care. It can help with home care in a community. There's also Medicaid when we get to the point that we are no longer financially stable. And then another thing, I don't know how many states out there have them, but I do know that the state of Virginia has auxiliary grants that can help people that don't necessarily qualify for Medicaid, but they still need help to get that financial resource that they need. Stay positive. You're not alone in this journey. Be very proud of yourself for having the courage to tell others, because it's not easy. Inform your family and friends, and again, ask for their help in telling others. Ask for the help when you need things. Tell people you sometimes have trouble concentrating and remembering. This will prod them to help you there as well. And tell people that just because you have dementia does not mean you need help with everything right now. Try to maintain as much independence as you can, but as your journey progresses, understand that you're going to need more and more help. Let them help you. Please let them help you. And understand that when you allow somebody to help you, it makes them feel good about being able to be a support system for you. And then finally, we have some dementia resources for you. First and foremost is my mentor, Teepa Snow. She is an occupational therapist in North Carolina that has developed the positive approach to care, which is what all of my workshops are based on. Teepa also offers online with YouTube, FaceTime things that are free for everybody. You can just log in and listen to her. She does a FaceTime every day in the mornings at 8 and then again at 5 in the afternoons. It's usually about 30 minutes, but it's always a great topic to listen to. There's also AARP of Virginia. They usually have lists of places that can help, people that can help, and other resources for you. I really like to recommend the Department for Aging and Rehabilitative Services, and I believe there is one in every state. Here in Virginia, George Worthington is our contact. He keeps an open door policy, and he is always willing to help any and everyone with whatever they need. And the Alzheimer's Association, they are also a good resource. Here in Virginia and in Richmond, we've got Marie Calindo, and I'm sure in other areas, you've got people that are just as knowledgeable and as welcoming as she is. Again, Marie is a great contact for those of you living here in the Richmond area. And then again, there's us, Assisting Hands Home Care. We are certainly able to help you in the home. We can also help you when you go to a community, but our goal is to keep you happy, healthy, and safe in your own home. When it comes time that you're no longer safe, then we look to communities like Brookdale of Midlothian. And again, Brooke there is a great contact. They have a tremendous assisted living program, and they've got a really good memory support program there as well. So,
I was just going to go back to that slide real quick. So obviously, Assisting Hands, we're here to help you remain happy and at home. Obviously, Cathy specializes in dementia as well as our entire company. And we do specific training for our caregivers. All this stuff you've seen and more is what we put in our training. And I'll give Brooke an opportunity to talk a little bit more about Brookdale. But I will say, Brooke and I are not in competition. A lot of people think, oh, memory care, wouldn't that take business away from you? No, Brooke and I, we have a great partnership, and we're providing support when and where people need it with their journeys in dementia. And we actually have worked with several of Brooke's residents in providing care inside the community where they just need a little bit extra support. And so I'll let Brooke talk a little bit more about that, but
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're clear.
Yeah, that's it's funny. We have heard that before, both jointly and separately, about, well, isn't that a little bit, you want residents in the community and you want them at home and with your caregiver. Ultimately, like what we said before, it's a partnership. We're a resource. We want to educate. We want to help. And I'm a true believer in what goes around comes around. And I think every person and every family is different. And so what works for one may not work for another. And it's our job to really get to know that person and that family and figure out what ultimately is going to be the best for them. I've always said that if residents or our current residents, if they were able to still be at home safely with the care in place, that's fantastic. When you get further into the conversations about social engagement, their health, their safety, additional care needs, communities then come into play. And those are conversations that we have, but it's it's a partnership. So I've definitely worked with Eric and Cathy and their team. They've been great assets here for us with residents, because even though they're in a community, sometimes they do need a little bit more one-on-one attention. So it's a partnership, and we're going to do what we can and answer any questions we can at any time on what, what we think and what our thoughts would be on helping you and your loved ones. So our team here is certified. They're all trained dementia caregivers. They actually have to go through monthly training. That's year over year, month over month. And then we also do our own workshops and really try and educate our staff as far as our memory care community is concerned. So we definitely do our due diligence as far as making sure that we're providing the best care possible for our residents, and our community becomes their home, our residents become our family, and their families become our family, and we treat it as such.
All
right. Now we're almost to the end of our series. On Thursday, February the 11th, we'll be presenting our 7th workshop, which is the positive approach to care. And this is how we're going to learn to greet, connect, offer comfort and support, and really how to do with the person and not to the person. It'll be a great workshop, and I hope all of you will consider coming back on Thursday, February the 11th.
And I'll say one thing on that one, we're gonna have to figure this out because Brooke, Kathy and I are gonna have to get together on this. So that workshop does a lot of demonstrations on, as Kathy said, you know, approaching people with dementia, greeting, the hand under hand methodology or approaches used, et cetera. So we may have to do either some live role playing or we're gonna have to pre-film some role playing. We'll see how that goes. That workshop is done. We actually enjoy doing that in person. Obviously, because of current COVID restrictions, we probably won't be able to do that by February. And then normally, if people were participating live, we would have them practice some of the techniques. So we'll figure that out for the next one. It'll be interesting. So, we'll do with that. All right, so here we, questions. Feel free to put them in the chat box or just unmute yourself and ask questions. You know, we've had a couple. I think there was one question about VA aid and attendance. That is different than the auxiliary grant, but it is, you know, Beth Ann, thank you for pointing that out. It's a great resource that you can use. That's through the Veterans Administration, through the pension benefits, not through the VA hospital directly. And so where you can get extra funds, I think it's up to a couple $1,000s a month to help with home care needs or care assistance. So if anybody has any questions about that, you can contact Brooke. And Kathy and I know quite a bit about that program as well.
And I have some information that Beth Ann, I'll send that over to you. So if you would like additional information, what I'll probably do is send it to Eric, and then that way Eric can attach that with, I believe he sends out the recording after the presentation.
Yep.
So then everybody will have that too. So hopefully that will help.
And again, if anybody needs a certificate of completion for your records, just let us know. These certificates are not acceptable as CEUs, but they do help as training certificates. So if anybody needs one, just let me know and I'll be glad to provide you with one.
Yep. All right. So I see a question in the chat from Suzanne about geriatric psychiatrist resources in the community. You know, I probably know some people, Suzanne, that I could put you in touch with that might be helpful. Gerio Partners is one that I think might be able to help you. And how about if you and I communicate offline and I'll get you the name of Courtney Petley, that she might be able to identify those resources for you. Any other questions? And if you'd like, I can stop recording here so that if people have some things that they don't necessarily want to be put on YouTube, that's fine. So I'm going to stop recording here. And I'm going to say thank you for everybody that's watching the recording. And please reach out to us if you have any questions.